Greetings programs, welcome to CK2, or rather the CK2 Steam store page, because I was asked not that long ago by somebody interested in getting CK2 what DLC they should look at, because there is a bewildering amount of DLC for this game, and actually, if you add it all up, it's rather expensive. That package there, which I don't think is even a complete package, it's got most of everything, £123. If you buy all the DLC individually, nearly £150. It's a good game, but it's really not worth spending that amount of money on. And even the base price, well, 30 quid. Yeah, I would wait for a sale. And I would say even with the DLC, just be patient and wait for a sale, because it is on sale fairly often. In fact, as of recording, it was on sale last week, I think. So it's worth being a bit patient with this game. But as for what DLC you should buy, well, chances are, if you're new to the game, you're going to start off as a Western feudal character. And there's a lot of the DLC, quite aside from all the graphical stuff, that you just don't need. So I'm going to do a very quick rundown of the 4 major DLC and the 2 kind of customization DLC that I think are particularly useful to have. So first off, I'm actually going to look at a pair together, the Ruler Designer and the Customization Pack. And between them, they let you really personalize your experience playing the game, because the Ruler Designer lets you create your own character, your own dynasty to start off the game with, which is, you know, it's a nice way of connecting with what you're doing. And the Customization Pack lets you customize the dynasty shield. It lets you actually customize titles as well. So I've actually used that feature several times in my own playthrough, and it's not necessary by any means, but they're not particularly expensive, and they're just, like I said, it's a nice way of like personalizing what you're doing. Next up is Way of Life, an expansion, well, DLC, that added character focuses, and this is a very useful one to have, because the character focuses give you various benefits. You actually get stat buffs to your characters from whatever area you choose to focus on, and it might be like stewardship, or it might be a martial focus. So those are very nice. They come with a bunch of events, and it also adds a new layer, if you like, of complexity to your interactions with other characters, because other characters have got their own focuses as well. And if you've got 2 characters who have a martial focus, for instance, they might get on rather well. Whereas if one is more intent on seducing your wife, well, the consequences might be rather different. So that's just all adding a little bit of depth, which is rather nice. Next, Charlemagne, which adds the earliest start date. There's actually Old Gods, which adds another early start date as well, although not quite as early as Charlemagne. But Old Gods is more focused on pagans and the actual stuff that it introduces. If you're not interested in playing the pagan characters at all, and I don't think you really should start off playing a pagan character, then there's not a lot otherwise in the Old Gods, whereas Charlemagne does have some useful things for everybody, even if you're not playing with the Charlemagne start date. So that's one I would definitely recommend getting. Sons of Abraham is, well, maybe not strictly necessary, but it adds a whole bunch of religious-themed events and mechanics, mostly to do with Christianity and Judaism, but you're starting off as a Christian character, so it's pretty useful. It adds some Catholic holy orders. You can do things like request crusades. It adds some new mechanics to do with your interactions with the Pope. So there's various things. There's a whole bunch of new events. You can go on pilgrimages. It's a nice one to have. It adds a lot of flavour, and again, I don't think this one is particularly expensive, so there's definitely no reason not to get it. And lastly, we come to Legacy of Rome, which adds a whole bunch of stuff to do with Byzantium. And this was actually only I think the second content DLC they put out that wasn't like graphical or whatever. Even if you're not going to play as Byzantium, which I do not recommend if you're a new player to the game, it adds a whole bunch of other useful stuff besides. But the principal thing that you want Legacy of Rome for is retinues. And it seems a bit silly they're not in the base game at this point, but retinues are, well, you've seen me use them in the game. You know what retinues are. They're very, very useful to have. And on that basis alone, I would say get Legacy of Rome, just for that one feature. So otherwise, there's a whole bunch of other DLC. There's a converter that you can get for converting your save games to EU4 mod files, essentially. So you can potentially play all the way from the earliest start date to the latest start date of EU4 if you have it. There are a whole bunch of graphical DLC for things like unit sprites and portrait packs, and I think there's a couple for expanding the options you have for your dynasty shields. All stuff that maybe you want to get further down the line, but you want to be sure you're actually enjoying the game. And if you get the base game on sale, if you get the particular DLC I have mentioned on sale, it's not going to cost you too much, and that will give you a really good idea if you're going to enjoy the game enough to stick around, to want to play as other characters of other religions, of other government types. So outside of these, none of the rest of it is really essential for getting to grips with the game itself. And hopefully this has been a useful list. Hopefully somebody somewhere is going to go, okay, I was wondering about that. So yes, let me know in the comments section below if that's the case. I know a couple of people have picked up the game as a result of me playing this series, and it's kind of, I don't want to say gratifying, because obviously I had nothing to do with making the game, but I'm obviously making it interesting enough that people are thinking, yeah, okay, I want to try this. This is different. This is interesting. So anyway, enough blather. I think we'll actually get on to the actual gameplay, and we'll catch up with the shenanigans of House McJedi and House Caption Guy. Well, one incredibly awkward transition later, here we are actually in game, and as is sort of semi-customary by this point, I thought I'd have a quick look around the map. It's actually not that much different than the start of last episode. And last episode we covered, I can't even remember how many years, but it was a couple of years. But as you can see, the Fatimids still represent a major power in the Middle East. Byzantium's still looking really very strong. Carpathia technically still exists, but Hungary has managed to break free, and Carpathia is looking pretty embattled at the moment. Lithuania and Poland, as you can see, kind of doing all right for themselves there. Actually, Poland seems to have made a bit of a comeback, because that was struggling a bit last time we actually checked. The HRE looking relatively stable, and Scandinavia, of course, which I am keeping a sharp eye on. Well, Sweden's looking still nice and fragmented. And my initial target of this tribe here, the tribe of the Satakuntans, they are actually allied with Sweden. So if I do get my Cassius Belli, which I hopefully will fairly soon, I might actually go for both provinces, we'll see. But it will probably drag Sweden into that war as well, and we'll just have to hope it doesn't furball into a wider conflict. But if it does, I think I'll be alright. I think I've got the troops. It's if like Denmark and then the HRE and whoever else get pulled in. At that point it might become problematic, but otherwise I think we're doing okay. So before I unpause, my first bit of business is to actually divest one of these provinces, because I picked up at the end of the last episode, or towards the end of the last episode, Northumberland. After many episodes of trying to get a hold of it, I finally do have it. But it puts me over the dimensity limit for this particular king. So what I'm actually going to do, and I've considered it, and having said I was going to hold on to Carrick because I have invested in Carrick, I'm actually going to give that to my Grand Mayor. Now there's one principal reason for it. Yes, okay, it makes him more powerful, or whoever is the Grand Mayor, it makes them more powerful, it gives them a few more troops. But if we actually check the opinion, and this current guy actually quite likes me, but that's despite the fact that it's the -13 negative modifier for wrong government type, which you're just going to get regardless. But there's another -25 for the fact that I have a bit of land that's de jure part of his duchy. Now, obviously, this is obviously true for the Duke of Moray up here as well, because I've got half of his duchy, but I'm less concerned with him. And also, geography, and I think I went on about this in the last episodes, that the geography matters, that how close your provinces are together matters. So I've got this cluster of provinces here. I'd quite like to have a cluster of provinces here, and potentially a cluster of provinces here. And because they will be between myself and, well, it's the border between me and England, so having the ability to raise troops there might potentially be very, very useful indeed. So what we're going to do is we're going to quickly give that away, grant landed title, and That should be fine. It also has the added benefit of the fact that he's going to like me a lot more, but all his successors will like me a lot more as well, because there's that minus 25 modifier is now gone entirely. However, it does mean the money I've sunk into upgrading that place is now gone, but another reason, and it's more of a minor reason, but I can build another holding within Northumberland, whereas Carrick, as you can see, had no more room. So that's more of a long-term thing, though. I'm not rushing to build another holding there just yet. So I've got a little bit of cash spare, and I'll actually invest in a training grounds, which gives me, as you can see, plus morale to the troops, plus 10% levied reinforcement rate, and more retinue size, which is very nice indeed. I might actually have slightly lost retinue capability. Let's see, 5,200 out of 5,264, so I can't actually build any more retinues at the moment. That's kind of wiped out that capacity. I think it was after the last episode ended, I'd realised I could raise one more retinue, so it's probably a good thing I did that before I then gave away that county. But my retinues alone are now a fairly decent size, like enough to take care of a small rebellion, for instance. Otherwise, we're kind of, that done. We're kind of waiting for this particular Casus Belli to take place. And those are all the Tanistry messages popping up, as they do at the start of every episode. Really, the only downside of being a Tanistry is those messages every time. What I could do, and I think we might still be in a truce, but I can quickly check, is I could declare war on the Duke, or, well, Petty King of Gwynedd, and take Kildare. Because obviously Kildare is a vassal of his at the moment, and as I've got the Crown of Ireland, that is de jure a vassal of mine. So I could do that. And I actually kind of want Kildare either as a direct vassal or as a directly held county, although I don't have capacity at the moment for that. But I'm thinking I'm just going to leave that, because that isn't going to go anywhere. That's useful to keep in my back pocket in case Gwynedd causes any trouble in the future by declaring war on the Duke of Deheubarth, for instance. So I could use that as a pretext for going to war. So I'm going to keep that in my back pocket for now. And likewise, although I could try and provoke England further, I'm actually content to leave England be for now. In fact, having said I'm going to skip forward, there's one last thing I'm pondering, and I think I'm actually going to do it just because I know it'll piss Caption Guy off. The Queen of England has two daughters, and I think they're actually twins. Yes, they are. They're both 5 years old. Typically, the AI doesn't make use of the betrothal mechanic, but I'm going to. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to look for some eligible... looking for heirs is difficult. My actual heir is already married, and he's got a son, but there's no guarantee that his son will become king, because of course the Tanistry succession laws mean that it is essentially elective within the family, so various McJedis could get elected. But I think what we'll do is we'll try and set up some betrothals between between my family, the McJedis, and House Caption Guy. And I know I'm sullying the noble blood of House McJedi, but on the other hand, if this pays off, it could really pay off handsomely. So we've got two that are of age. Actually, Corin is one of them, and I don't even know how you say that. Skjalg, maybe? But neither of them, stats-wise, particularly promising. However, okay. No, she doesn't want him. I might only be able to do one of these. Yeah, okay, because he's my grandson. Prestige does come into this. So Skjalg, obviously, from a less important branch of the McJedi. So we'll have to make sure I'm getting the right princess, actually. Although they're twins, only obviously one of them can be the next Queen of England. So it's going to be Sanigeth rather than Sifled. What names? It's a wonder that we don't use these wonderful mellifluous Anglo-Saxon names anymore. It's truly a loss. It truly is. So arrange betrothal, and we'll go with Corin. As actually Jedi. Well, actually he's fairly old. Will he? No, that's a no anyway. But because this is, well, it's only a betrothal. This is not a set in stone thing, but it's likely that this will be fine, and it won't be a matrilineal marriage, which means it will be a McJedi that, like, if this works out, if they get married, if they have kids, their kids will be McJedis. So potentially I'm setting up McJedis for the throne of England, and therefore potentially setting up way down the line an integration between the two crowns more or less peacefully. And I was thinking I would have to do it by force, but I don't know, people have suggested numerous times, one person in particular, Armorama of PC War Machine, and you should definitely check out that site if you're interested in military modelling at all. There we go, a bit of pimping. Yes, she's accepted. Ha ha ha! Suck it, Caption guy. She's not with the program. He in particular has suggested trying to inveigle my way in through inheritance, and actually, I think it is time to consider that. So there we go. That's an iron in the fire. Let's put it that way. That's something that might potentially be very useful later on. So we're going to skip ahead a bit here. There's not a whole lot going on otherwise, and hopefully this happens soon. We're all kind of waiting for this to kick off, because I want to really start making inroads into Scandinavia and start putting that Operation North Sea Empire into action. Well, I've decided to quickly drop back in because I don't know how they keep doing it, but they keep doing it. And this is, I think, the second time that they've had to reconquer the lands of Jerusalem. They had the initial first successful crusade, and then they lost it. They lost the land to a jihad, and then they successfully reconquered it, and then lost it. And then this is take number 3, and it was largely Pisa that actually was doing the work. They had, I think, the HRE, the Holy Roman Emperor himself, was involved. The Pope was involved, a whole bunch of people. In fact, one of my own vassals was involved, but their percentages as contributions were fairly small. It was mostly Pisa. So, yeah, I don't know. We'll see how long it lasts this time, I guess. I mean, there's not a whole lot going on the rest of the map. There was a brief little civil war in the HRE that resolved itself even. I think Norway has expanded a little bit. In fact, Golan's also expanded. Sweden is looking very squeezed right now. There's not a lot left of Sweden at all. But as far as anything I want to be doing is going, it's a bit, yeah. England, of course, still lots of civil wars. You know, me uniting the crowns can only be a good thing for the islands as a whole. Won't be enough to stamp out House Caption Guy entirely, of course, but you know, it's a start. Anyway, I think we'll skip ahead again here because, like I said, there's really not a lot doing otherwise. But I just thought that was worth coming back in for. Well, nothing is really happening right now, but the chance to set off an event chain has popped up, so I'm going to hold a grand tournament. There's actually several things I could do from the intrigue screen at the moment. At the top of the video where I was talking about the DLCs that you would want to consider if you are new to the game, one of them was I think it was Sons of Abraham that introduced some of the mechanics to do with Holy Orders. Some of them were there already, and I'm pretty sure this was one of the things that introduced, though I might be wrong about that. It might have been in the patch that went with Sons of Abraham, or it might have been in a totally different patch. I might be totally talking out my hat. But for an instant piety boost, you can throw a whole chunk of gold at one of the religious orders and the Crusader orders, and you can get, for 300 gold, 300 piety. So it's expensive, but if you need a big piety boost all at once, that's pretty useful. I could also go on a pilgrimage, and I might actually do that. But first we're going to hold the grand tournament, which is most of my gold, but it might pop up some interesting events. So we'll just set it to kind of medium speed, see what happens. There's still nothing really going on at the moment. I mean, I can quickly show you around the rest of the map, but Pisa's just been, like, they've designated a bunch of vassals, and that's it, really. I mean, Byzantium actually seems to be pushing down slightly onto the Levantine coast, but Otherwise, yeah. Oh, I suppose Carpathia's just actually popped back out, so that's noteworthy, I suppose. Anyway, there we go. That's the initial pop-up of the Grand Tournament. It's time to let the tournament begin, and for the next 2 months, let all show their martial brilliance. And let's just hope that Gregor Clegane isn't one of the contestants. I'd also actually only noticed once I had finished blathering for the first section of this video, or not technically the second section of the video, is that the tribe that I'm going after, well, they've actually got a holding up here as well. Now, one thing that did happen in the interim is that I noticed I had a much more capable person that could be a Chancellor, that wanted to be Chancellor. So we went from a guy with 17 diplomatic score to a guy with 24 diplomatic score. So that very much increases my chances of fabricating this claim. Or it should do anyway. We're up to 19.38% yearly. So it's like almost a 1 in 5 chance a year that it will happen. So that's pretty decent odds, actually. Anyway, we've got a guy that is one of, he's in Galloway, so he's won first place. His opinion bump doesn't matter, he's a relatively minor character. I have a Count of Clydesdale who got him second place. Bit of an opinion bump there, and do we get a third place? I have no idea. There we go, Neil Buchanan, who is the Marshal of Athol, so totally inconsequential character. We also had, oh, an inheritance. And this is the new Duke of Deheubarth, who is of House McJedi, so that's rather nice. That's all according to plan. He's actually unmarried, so we'll see if he actually he's the Polish one. We'll see if he actually is able to produce heirs and get a good line of Polish McJedis going there. Otherwise, it's going to be a fake Scottish Orthodox McJedi, because that just happens in this game. Patrician of oh, I don't even know. That's Irish, I think. Tragically killed. Most unfortunate. Don't bother me. I guess most unfortunate we'll go with. I also noticed in the interim that the current patrician, he's had a son. Phew, we almost lost the Blackadders. He had no heirs to continue that particular patrician family. It would have just auto-generated a new patrician family, probably a fake Scottish one, but they wouldn't have been Blackadders, so that would have been a shame. So we have Lachlan Blackadder there. Anyway, tournament over, and we should, if I can click the right screen, we should now be able to go on a pilgrimage. And we're going to do that. We could also do a summer fair, which would make my, that particular vassal happy. But we'll go on a pilgrimage, because that's usually an interesting chain of events. It can also be a bit expensive, but we've got the cash. So I'll click away those messages, Tanistry messages. I built a thing. That was the inheritance. And that's technology spread, so that's a relatively minor message. Right, there are a number of different holy places that I could visit, and this is definitely content from Sons of Abraham. I can go to a holy site in the west, which is going to be basically northern Spain, or I can go to Jerusalem or Rome. And actually, Jerusalem, having been recently taken by Pisa, well, that might be an interesting place to go. Jerusalem and Rome are the two oldest and holiest places of the Catholic Church. We'll go to the Holy Land, the recently conquered Holy Land, and we'll see what we can see there. We'll see what the events that pops up. Oh, very nice. A tithe of 118 gold. I'm not quite sure if it's a tithe or a tithe. I think it's a tithe. But before I do these episodes, I reviewed the previous episode just to refresh my memory, because I usually record these things, sort of a week and a half, 2 weeks apart. So, I specifically remember that happened in the last episode as well, and I was sitting there thinking, is it a tithe though? Is it a tithe? I don't know. I'm just going to go with tithe. Anyway, my journey begins, so we'll see what happens. And this guy, Bishop Colin of Armagh, is my regent, and he's fairly capable in most matters. Not particularly good martial score, but everything else is fine. Okay, I'll actually read these out. I know I'm guilty of skipping past messages, but I'll read these ones out in full. You look out across the beautiful valley stretching out before you. It would be a wonderful moment if not for the fact that there should be no valley here. You are a pilgrim in an unfamiliar land and you have no idea where you are. Yeah, that sounds about right for me, or a McJedi. If only I hadn't listened to those useless peasants that gave me directions. I might get wrath, or if only I'd listened to more to those peasants that gave me directions, so I can choose the kind of the humble path or the haughty, arrogant path. And we're gonna go with the Actually, maybe I should roleplay this a bit. What if it is? Well, he's celibate. He's on a pilgrimage. Temperate, patient. Yeah, okay. It would be unusual for him to just be going off on one and being totally arrogant. So, we're role-playing, you guys. We're role-playing. Travelling down a long and lonesome road, you come across a man lying in a ditch. He seems to have been robbed and beaten up quite badly. Bind up his wounds, help him to an inn, and pay for his recovery. And it costs me 10 gold, and for that I get kind. And that gives me +2 diplomacy, although it gives me -2 intrigue, so it might not actually be a thing that I want. Although, just ignore my phone. +2 diplomacy is going to be very useful with vassals, but -intrigue means I'm more likely to get, stabbed on a dark night or whatever. But I'm going to do it. It's only 10 gold. An extra 2 diplomacy is going to be very useful for it with a lot of my vassals. Oh no! What has happened though is... Oh, that's bad. My demence capability has gone down because I've lost intrigue because it's tied to intrigue. Oh, why didn't I think of that? I don't know. I might just take the hit then. It will give a slightly negative modifier to opinion with my vassals for having too many holdings. And I think it gives you a slightly negative modifier to money, that your income, that ramps up how far you are past your holding. So 1 extra over won't be much of a problem, I hope. Riders approach. Thundering hooves are heard down the road. The pilgrims look with apprehension at the rising dust cloud. As the riders close, steel armour and steel-tipped lances reflect the blight sunlight, or even the bright sunlight. The tension rises, but then a collective sigh of relief is heard as the banner of the holy knights is seen flying above the mass of armoured men. The knights halt before the pilgrims and graciously offer to accompany up the road. And I can get 20 piety. Why not? I don't think there's any downside to that event. Jerusalem. You have finally arrived at Jerusalem. Passing by the Mount of Olives, you enter through the city gate and are immediately overcome by the feeling of having made a truly epic journey. I know, all that clicking we had to do, right? The city is filled with, actually, when you consider it, the distance travelled, that's a hell of a sea journey. I'm just saying, that's far longer than it actually took for me going, I'm going to go on a pilgrimage, and then the pop-ups coming along, because... that would have been a journey by sea of months, probably. When are we? 11/8/79. So, yeah, that would have been a long journey. Anyway, never mind. The city is filled with people of all creeds and colours, the air heavy with smells of strange spices and foreign plants. You make your way through the throng of people, and animals, excited by the knowledge that you are now close to the Via Dolorosa and other holy places. You also plan to visit the Church of the Nativity in Bethlehem, but first of all you need to find some place to stay. After all, you won't be able to be forced to sleep in a stable, would you? Oh, you Paradox, with your references. Oh, you. Was it one of the really early episodes, like episode 2 or 3 or 4, and back in the good old days when I was assassinating House Caption Guy Kings? Good times, man, good times. And what was it that finally did him in? A hail of arrows in front of the book depository, the scroll depository or something like that. So, yes, Paradox do like their little references like that. Jerusalem was a fascinating place. A holy place for 3 great religions, and the city and surrounding area are full of monuments giving tribute to God. Somehow, when you look closer, they don't seem all that different. It rather makes you think, doesn't it? Muhammad was a great thinker, and I can get sympathy for Islam, which will give me a bonus modifier to relations with Islamic characters, but my interactions with Islamic characters, given I'm all the way over here, relatively minimal. I can also get basically the same thing for Judaic characters, Jewish characters. And actually, I've got Jewish characters as vassals. They sometimes pop up as courtiers. So we're going to go with that one, sympathy for Judaism. It's totally unrelated pop-up, and it is soldier reinforcements, levy reinforcements. That's rather nice. So there should be a couple more pop-ups to do with the pilgrimage. Oh, that's the last one. Okay, there we go. You will finally return from your pilgrimage. It was a rewarding and interesting journey, and you'd do it all again if you could. Still, it's good to be back home. And I get the pilgrim trait, which is a plus 0.1 piety a month. So that's a rather nice boost. I'm actually getting... I've got minus 0.2 from being cynical, but the rest of it all stacks up quite nicely. So, yeah, that was an interesting little event chain. I mean, nothing really happened with the tournament, but pilgrimages, you never quite know what's going to pop up because there's a variety of different ways that it can go and a variety of different outcomes. But in this case, yeah, I've actually managed to somehow claw back that Demence limit. I'm not quite sure how, but anyway, it might be... actually, I have no idea what that's from. Anyway, there you go. Sympathy for Judaism. I can actually, if I check my vassals, there's one that is, and I can't remember who it is. Is it a baron? I set somebody up as a... Oh, never mind. It doesn't matter, but there is somewhere in that lot. There's at least one Jewish baron or something like that, and my relations with them will now be improved because of that. So that's quite nice. It's not an inheritable thing, but it's nice to have it all the same. So we're back to waiting now, really. This is... I don't know, it takes as long as it takes, you know. How long is a piece of string when it comes to trying to fabricate claims in CK2? Yeah, I've probably said this previously, but I much prefer it in EU4 when you can see exactly how long it's going to take. Whereas in this, it really is just rolling dice every month until it happens. And it can happen immediately after you place the guy, or it can happen years and years later. We're also getting a nice bit of technology spread, which is useful because it means I can build more stuff in my various holdings. So yeah, we'll actually have a quick look around and see what is available for building. I can increase my castle walls in PointyHairedJedi, and that actually gives me plus 5% to levy, more tax income, and obviously more fort level, so we'll do that. That's only 140 gold as well. Group of Hedge Knights has come to visit Scotland. Duke Giric II has met with them and asks for my reply. Welcome them with a lavish feast, which gives me 10 prestige, minus 40 gold. Welcome them reluctantly, and refuse them access, which just annoys everybody. So we'll welcome them with a lavish feast, because money ain't a problem. It definitely is not a problem at all. Hedge Knights have participated in a mine tournament together with our knights in Segorl. Sadly, one of those landless vagabonds has been severely injured. Well, this I never quite get this event. Like, you can either... It's plus 5 piety either way, but you're losing... Well, we'll just throw some more gold away. Why not? I can afford the prestige hit as well. I got quite a lot of prestige there. It's not really going to be an issue. I'll actually just check the current succession, because it does tend to... like. The main issue that could arise from having Tanist laws is the fact that we could potentially have different heirs for both kingdom titles that are currently in the kingdom. But at the moment it's the Count of Tyrconnell, so he looks set to be the next king, and yeah, he's probably not going to be too bad actually. His intrigue is utterly diabolically bad, but we can increase that with the not character focus, the ambition. We can get an ambition to increase his intrigue. His diplomacy is absolutely outstanding. That's going to be really useful. He is also Welsh. I'm actually kind of surprised Caption guy hasn't gone and added, like, you know, fake Welsh and fake Irish and fake Polish, but maybe he's just lazy. I don't know. We've also had a succession down in my Grand Republic, and actually, because I gave a bit of land to them previously, what happens is that one of them effectively becomes a count. And this is the son. This is Lachlan Blackadder. So the Blackadders are now landed, whereas the rest of them, because of the way titles work for Merchant Republics, they only get, like, they have their kind of off-map barony, as it were, in the form of their patrician household, and then whoever is the Grand Mayor gets the main title holding. And figuring out titles with a Grand Republic when you're playing as a Grand Republic can be a bit fiddly sometimes, just because it's diced a bit differently. But anyway, so this is Corran. He's become oh yes, this is the guy the young man that we betrothed to the heir to England. Although England's, I don't know, England looks like it might be more trouble than it's worth at the moment. But as I've said previously, a week England is a good thing for me. So he's got a few years left before he can potentially marry Princess Sanageth over there. But I don't know, she's only 36, the current queen, but there's every chance she might keel over. Knowing this game, anybody can pretty much keel over at any moment. But yeah, he might potentially be marrying her when she's a queen, potentially. But I don't know, her mother looks reasonably healthy. So yeah, every character actually has a hidden health stat. And there's a way of there's a console command you can use to look up these hidden stats in-game. You can also see them in the save files, potentially. But normally it's a hidden modifier and you just can't tell. So somebody might be totally sickly, and therefore they're much more likely to just keel over, or they might have the constitution of an ox. And it's like the fertility stat, you just can't tell normally. It has come to my attention that the Chancellor of Lancaster has been, yes, he's fabricated a claim on, where though? Well, we'll see in a second, I guess. And we've had County of Ulster. Had an inheritance, that's fine. Ooh, imbecile. Yes, he's unlikely to have a particularly good health stat, although I think inbred is the worst that you can have in terms of like negative traits and terrible health and terrible fertility. So he might actually live for a very long time, but you never know. Right, the Count of Huis has decided to press a claim on, I don't even know, it was the Bishop of Durham last time. These are vassals of somebody making claims on my land, which they can't possibly then back up, which is just, I don't know. They're just wasting their money, frankly. And another tithe, 114 gold, so let's build another thing. Click away those messages. If you do play this game and you, like, it's a very handy little shortcut to know that if you press Control and click to get away with the messages, it does the whole stack at once. So it's a nice little keyboard shortcut to be aware of. A rather heated discussion between myself and the stable master caught Skalka's attention, and after listening to us both, he settled the matter between me and the stable master in a fair way. I got the horse, the stable master got the coin, so that's plus modifier to opinion. And we actually regard each other fairly well. I actually married him off to... Now, you might be thinking, oh, she's probably like Muslim or Tengri or something. No, she's a Bulgar Catholic. So she's from, like... Well, when it's finished auto-saving, she's from, I think, over here somewhere. Yeah, he's actually Ashkenazi, which is his mother Jewish? No, I think he must have been taught by somebody, a Jewish character, and that has changed his culture. Yeah. His father's Norwegian, he's Ashkenazi, whatever. This game is just this game. It really is. I'm actually kind of tempted to wrap this video up here, to be honest. I mean, it's been... The last video was kind of action-packed in terms of we got several bits of land, we had several very successful wars, and in this one it's just been building things, watching technology spread, shuffling characters around. But honestly, that's what this game is like most of the time. Like, even a regular episode where I am at war, there's usually at least a couple of edits, a couple of cuts where I'm jumping forward like 6, 8, 12, 18 months, whatever, while there's not a lot happening. And, oh, we've lost the bishop. So this episode has mostly been not a lot happening, unfortunately. So let's appoint even a new bishop. Redris, Bishop of Elgin. We'll actually pack him off to Rome as well. We actually had 2 or 3 times the previous bishop, who was very competent. He actually gave me a pop-up several times of like improving my relations with the Pope. So my relations are better than they were. And as you can see, I've already got some stats that help out as well, like celibate and temperate, both useful. But apparently, because he's zealous and I've got sympathy for Judaism, that gives -10. And zealous also clashes with cynical, so that's another -10 right there. But anyway, yes, it never hurts to be on good terms with the Pope in this this particular game. As the farmers prepare for sowing their spring crops, oh yes, this is bringing out the holy relic. I always wanna. You may or may not be aware of a show called Father Ted, but they had a whole episode where it was the Holy Stone of Clonrickert, and every time this event pops up, I think of that episode of Father Ted. It was the one with the 3 bishops. What was it called? I can't remember, but they teach Father Jack to say, "That would be an ecumenical matter." And it's just hilarious. And if you've never seen Father Ted, you have absolutely no idea what the hell I'm on about, but you should definitely go and watch it because it's brilliant. So yeah, we'll bless the land. -8% peasant revolt risk, not to be sniffed at. I think we'll just wrap the episode up here. We haven't made any progress, unfortunately, in terms of furthering my my long-term goals, but things are not going so bad otherwise. Probably the most interesting event has been Pisa once again retaking Israel and becoming, well, expanding their power base. But we'll see if they can once again hang on to it or if they just lose it to another jihad and then call another crusade. So who knows? We'll see. That's for future episodes. So if you enjoyed this one, you can leave in the comments below. You can hit the like button. You can subscribe to my channel. And as always, stay tuned for more.